Alrighty. Greetings, greetings. We're always lighting a little bit of a fire at the beginning of these, if you haven't noticed. So come on in, everybody. Make yourselves comfortable. I'm going to click over on Facebook really quickly because if you don't know, you guys, Facebook is famous for silencing or just otherwise placing my streams on some form of, there it is. It's on Only Me. Only I get to watch this on Facebook. Sorry, you guys. I'm really sorry. But we're going to go ahead and change that right now. And so, boom, there it is. It is now public. Let me find my window once again. Here we are. Hello, everyone. Greetings. As far as I can tell, I believe we are still in the year 2021. I believe, as far as I can tell, and time is going incredibly quickly. If you're here, it's probably because time has sped up to the extent that we've just arrived at this point, not really knowing how we got here, really why. And so, if you're one of the people, whether you're in the Facebook realm or the YouTube realm, and you just somehow clicked on this, maybe it was by accident, or maybe you're one of our regular viewers. Hello, by the way. I see you there. Hello, Krissa. Miss Liz White Swan. Good to see you. Michelle Janae. Nice to see your face as well. Eternal Dreamer. And anyone else that rolls in, it is certainly no mistake. We are in a really beautiful, a turbulent, a what we might call jagged, and really just a huge energetic portal. And so we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about a couple of other things. As you know, I'll probably be ranting about a number of other situations, but also if there's any questions, and I want to say it now because I've been getting a lot of questions lately. We did a really cool event. I think it's about 2 weeks ago now, although it could have been 3 weeks ago because my concept of time is so bad right now, you guys. But we just came back. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Someone out there will correct me. I think Carissa was there. She remembers. But it was about 2 weeks ago. We did a really cool event in Sedona, Arizona, known as the Family of Light Gathering, put on by Jace Kulesa and Alexis Buck, and it was a wildly. It was just a wild event. I had an incredible time. Lots of just wild energy there. When I say wild, it's both upward and downward and in every kind of direction. And so we had an incredible experience. I'm deeply, deeply grateful to have met those that we met there. We did some really amazing sessions. For those few people in the world that have done an in-person session with me, they're always at events, and every single one is utterly and completely different. One of the things I've noticed about the conferences and the event work that we've done is I call it kind of like energy medicine triage care, or sort of like energy medicine or energetic medicine ER, or just some sort of cheesy, kind of fanciful name that I add to it. Because what I've noticed is we're usually dealing with the most prevalent issues or just the sharpest edges within someone's energy, and it is very much like situations where you'll sort of meet someone, you'll sort of check in very briefly on their timeline in a number of ways, and then we sort of patch you up. We sort of like, let's fill in this and pick up this and turn that around. And for some people it's huge and it can be life-changing, and for other people it's very much like you just have a nice energetic experience and you go on. But it's amazing. Each one is totally different, and we got to meet some really, truly incredible people. Each and every one of these events, it's like the people that show up that somehow find me and Honora and the stuff that we do, these are truly unique beings. One day maybe I'll write a book and talk about all the interest, just the myriad of wild just encounters that we have had, and they've been unconditionally beautiful, really awesome people. So if you're one of the people that met us there, thank you. Thanks for being there. Thanks for joining our strange timeline and acknowledging who and what we are and what we do. Because doing events is it is a harsh energetic environment, especially for the empath. Whether you're professional or not, whether you're just one of the people that's kind of waking up to it, it's just a very turbulent situation. And so we launched a couple of really cool things at that event, and we're going to be talking about it today, probably at too much length, which we will get to shortly. In the meantime, please, if you can, let me know what part of the world you're in or what planet you are currently on. I mean that very sincerely. Um, yeah, it's good to see you guys. Hello, Danny Sosa. Good to see you again. Radiant Seed Pod. I remember you. How's it going? Excellent. Good to see you. Jewel Heart and Soul. Nice. Good to see you as well. Thanks for being here, you guys. Please do let me know if you have any questions about what's going on energetically right now, especially within this portal we call the Lion's Gate. As a lot of us know, there's somewhat of a sort of energetic portal, a big batch of energy, a big sort of gateway, however you want to label it or call it. This period of August each year comes with it very interesting and polarized batches of non-physical energy flowing within the world, whether you're aware of it and it's something that you're cognizantly, a part of, or for those that are getting tossed around by the currents of, the powers that be or were, or, whatever it is. This time of year is just an incredible opportunity for those who are aware and really working on themselves to step into a whole other stage of purpose, in some case service, in some case experience. And what we're seeing right now is a lot of people getting a bit of a reassignment. A lot of people are moving. A lot of people are going to just other parts of the country. Some people are starting new chapters. They're picking up new occupations or just areas of service. And one of the sort of what some people would call kind of like a catalyzing period. Other people could call it like the crystallization. Some people will call it the activation, whatever sort of word salad, new age term you want to add to it. We are on this day, and the portal stays open for a couple weeks before and after, you guys. For those that are really watching the energy, you'll notice it's not something that opens and closes on August 8th, but it does represent just probably the most concentrated amount of energy that you've had available to you this entire, we could say year, because we only get one of these each year, but there's many chapters and many stages in which there's a lot of energy flowing. So this is just really a period to be totally aware of what you're creating, totally aware of what it is you're trying to become, and really the next chapter, because what's going to be happening between, I would say, now and the end of the year is a lot of people are shifting into a new, just a new wavelengths of service. And I'm getting a little bit circular already as I see your comments coming in. You guys will notice when I get distracted from what I'm saying, because I'll sort of like say it multiple times in a weird loop while I'm looking at something on the other side of the screen. And so let me get to your comments. Oh, hello from Norway. Thank you for being here. I mean that very sincerely. In Colorado as well. Beautiful. Oh, Mount Shasta. Good to see you, Juliet Parfrey. Oh, hey, Chelsea. Good to see you. Leading up to Lion's Gate, I feel a lot of work on the throat, heart, and sacral chakras while I'm sleeping. You are not alone, Chelsea. I have been getting this in nearly every session now, and sometimes people do sessions with me and this crazy throat energy activates. And what does it feel like, you guys, if throat energy activates in your body? Well, on a physical level, it could feel like there's fire in your throat, like it'll start getting really hot. You'll feel like you have a lump in your throat. That's usually when there's a bit of a blockage. Sometimes you'll get this weird emotion or this pulse that happens right at the base of your throat, like you're going to cough or choke. But for people like me, you get this weird, crazy, dry, phantom heat that rises up within the throat. And it's like you don't know whether you're supposed to cough it or swallow it. And there's nothing really to cough out. It's just like this crazy energy that's like, and it sort of rises in your throat. And I have been getting tons of that. And I don't know, if there's one thing I've noticed, everyone kind of experiences in their own way, but that's how it shows up for me. You are certainly not alone, Chelsea. Absolutely. It might be a very good time for those of you guys that feel victimized or sort of easily tossed around by the waves of energy right now. For some people out there, you're going to know this instantly, but really, honestly, for those of you guys that want to strengthen your energy field, start doing Qigong. Just start doing Qigong, even if it's just a little bit every day. It's going to start changing the balance of energy flow around the outside of your body and the inside at the same time. It just has incredible effect. A lot of people on this chat already know how much I will rant about Qigong, so I'll stop there. You can ask other questions about it, but watch out. Watch out. So it's good to see you. Brisbane, Australia. Absolutely. And the Bay Area as well. Would like to move to countryside of New York State. I'm daydreaming about it. New York may be a good place for some people. That's entirely possible. To me, it feels very restricted and a little bit, I'll just say it to me, and this is just my view, so only take it with a grain of salt, YO, but It feels very restricted and just very kind of locked down in New York. But I know there's a lot of amazing places there. I would say, you guys, this is a bit of a kind of a non sequitorial comparison that I'm going to make here. New York, just in general, is a lot like Orion. And some of you guys have already heard me say this, so you'll know. The Orion system gets all kinds of flack. People talk shit about Orion all the time. Like, yeah, there's all this negativity there. And there can be, and there certainly is, but there's also incredible beauty, incredible magic, incredible power, all sorts of wonders. And honestly, having spent a bit of time in New York, I feel it's very much like that as well. It's like you get you get the equal amount of everything. Although nowadays it feels much more controlled and honestly a little bit parasitic in that, but then again, I live in California right now, so you know, um, we are in our own wonderland over here, and so we really have no room to talk. But the good news is, and thank you, YO, for being here. The good news is, and some of you guys already know this, one of the sort of not really announcements because it's already out, but I've been kind of talking about it semi-publicly on Facebook, is that we are moving. And so Honora and I are departing the Los Angeles, California region. You guys, we've been in a weird little underground bunker here right next to the La Brea tar pits, seriously, for almost 3 years. Almost 3 years. And when I say a little underground bunker, I mean very, very sincerely. We live in a little teeny box right in the corner underneath all this stuff. Seriously. And so we are finally departing the state. I think it just got a little bit too much for me. It's not that I feel like there's this overwhelming amount of negativity in Los Angeles, although depending on your perspective, there is, depending on where you look, an overwhelming amount of negativity here. But what I've noticed is that it's just something that we have outgrown. I've never been a California hater or a Los Angeles hater, or even, like like New York or like New Jersey, which also gets a lot of shit. I've never been a hater of those places. I've spent time there. In fact, I love New Jersey. When I stayed there for several days a few years ago, and it was beautiful. I loved it. But something about California for us has become literally intolerable, whether it be the political ideology, whether it be the viral madness. And I'll just say it. There's the mask in California is a personality trait. It's a bizarre thing. It's literally a piece of yourself that is now shown to the world in a very, very strange way that for me feels incredibly disturbing. So anyway, those aren't really the only reasons, but we are moving into a new stage of our journey, and we are moving to Florida, to the complete other side of the country, which is, yes, a very bold move. But having also spent some time in Florida during the period when I was in a band and we went on tour several times and played in Florida, I actually enjoyed it greatly. Now it's been several years since I've been there, mind you, but we're absolutely going for it, and so. Yeah, we're going to be moving to, it looks like somewhere outside of Tampa. I'll say the name and all the other stuff later on when we have more details, but it's already happening. And so it is a literal answer to prayers, because one of the things that just really concerns me about California is just the levels of restriction, just the absolute viral madness and insanity. And I'll sort of cut it there just in case, that wild AI catches wind of the vague keywords that we're using. But yeah, it is time we are getting out of here. And so, but like I was saying a few moments ago, along with that, a lot of other people are transitioning to other parts of the country. There has been somewhat of what we would call a grid node reassignment thing that has taken place. And for a lot of us right now, it's sort of coalescing around decisions and actions and things that we are doing right now, sort of today, but really just at this period, this month, this chapter of energy. Today being probably one of the most concentrated versions of it. And so you have a tremendous ability today to really alter and change your timeline, your path, but it requires direct focus. And one of the things you can do during these strange chapters is literally write things down by hand. Write it down by hand. Almost like you're giving yourself a new contract, a new authorization. It's been a practice that I've done a lot, but anyway, I'm just kind of ranting on and on. So yes, we are getting out of California. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the meantime. I see Tiffany Pertel there, over there on the Facebook crew. Thank you, Tiffany, for being here. You can see it. I also have some weird streams of really natural, almost prayer, poetry, things that seem to be channeled. It always feels great and surprises me. Includes a healing message. Interesting that you use the word channel, Tiffany, because I think there are areas of the human energetic anatomy that are opening up on a really organic level right now that will facilitate an ongoing, or what we would call an enhanced version of the ongoing internal dialogue that one will have with what we perceive as ourself, but for many of us is actually a collection of versions of ourself. Some people will call it the higher self or the spirit guides. What it really essentially is, as far as myself and also many others can tell, is many versions of us that will exist upon the astral planes that will kind of lend their consciousness to the now moment. And I would say in stages of energy just like this, where we are right now, you are probably going to be experiencing, just like you said, a much greater amount of those transmissions. For some people, that's going to show up in the form of channeled artwork. For some people, that's going to show up in the form of light language. Some people are just starting to do that right now. For other people, it's going to be very activated dreams or very deep knowings. Or for others like myself, and I'll just kind of talk about a thing that's been happening for me. And, you know, maybe this is a bit of an upgrade period for all of us, but just incredible, wild hand chakra activations. For myself and also other people in the multidimensional training program that we're doing right now have also been experiencing this, but just incredibly accelerated amount of energy passing through the hand. And if you guys want to know, where's probably the primary hand portal, hand chakra, and also meridian points within the hand that allow you to project energy outward. A lot of you guys have seen me do this before, but you can take the palm of your hand and close it softly into a fist, and wherever your middle finger touches, notice where your middle finger touches on your palm. Right there. For most of us, right around there, right in the center. That is pericardium 8, I believe. Well, it might be pericardium 9. I always get 8 and 9 mixed up. But we also have another one right there at the tip of your middle finger. And so this area right here is probably the most lively and active that I have found in terms of projecting energy outward. And for me, that has been probably the most active it has been in this entire journey. There have been some sessions that I've done with people over the past week in which we weren't even using energy in the moment. And I would sort of take my hands, you guys, I would kind of, you know, like how you'll be sitting with someone and you'll put your hands on your, you know, like your legs or your thighs. And I would put my hands down on my thighs, and it was so hot. One day in particular, I had to take my hand away. It was like this crazy burst of heat. It's a very interesting thing to experience. Some of you guys have heard me say this before, but during the early awakening period that I had, and I think this was in the year 2015, which was kind of the gateway to me, you know, meeting a lot of people within this community, and also prior to I launched into what I'm doing now as a professional thing. I actually had an experience of having a flame organically erupt in my hand. And some people, I know there's a few people on this live stream and they're going to be like, what's this guy? Oh man, you know, people are they always get weird whenever you say this. I sort of hid it for a long time. I wouldn't talk about it for a long time. And I realized that for me, that was one of the things that caused it to never happen again. But during the awakening period that I had, when, you know, energy was just going crazy in my body right around summer 2015, I was just standing in the shower one night, just glitching out, holding my hands in the water, just kind of literally going like this, just kind of, you know, almost autistically, you know, like just, you know, glitching out in this strange, overly, you know, stimulated energetic state that I was in at that time. And upon closing my left hand, there was this moment when I felt it, and I saw it because it was right next to my face. I was going like this, and there was this blue that came out. And as I closed my hand again, I felt it forming, and I saw a literal blue flame erupt from my hand. And I felt it in the right, a little bit less, but the left hand was the one where I was like that. and I saw a literal blue flame come out of my hand. And mind you, this was totally sober. I did not know this was possible. I did not know this was a thing. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things that was so real and visceral that I actually, check this out, everyone who's watching. Thank you for being here. I actually got scared. I got scared, and I felt a little bit ashamed, like I had done something wrong. Standing in the water, no less. And this flame sort of erupted. Well, not sort of. It literally erupted from my hand, and that was the only time that has ever happened to me. It has not happened since. But it's something that I had always thought about, that I had always tried to cultivate. It was something that I knew was real. Come to find out, several months later, even shortly after that, you'll go on YouTube and stuff and start Googling things and going in this crazy wormhole of stuff. And and I discovered there was people in other countries and people in other spiritual modalities. At the time, I wasn't doing any of that, but that was actually a real thing. And so it was a very interesting and formative experience for me to have. And so, strangely enough, just the sensation of that has been coming back. Does that mean I'm one of those guys that's over here lighting fire, in a weird tissue on the table with your hand? No, not necessarily, but I know humans are capable of it. What it seems to me, and I know a couple of our clients and people in our training program, for real though, this is the crazy thing, they're also experiencing similar vibrations within the hand chakras. And so what it's showing me is that there is a collective awakening, and so, sort of like a collective reseeding of this energy. And so it's an interesting synchronicity that for me, I think this was on, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday of this past week. And I was thinking about talking about it on the live stream today. And as I woke up, you know how you guys will pick up your phone as you wake up in the morning and start, what's going on? And you'll start looking at stuff. First thing in the morning, I picked up my phone and there was, whatever, the AI, whoever it is on YouTube, just dropped this video on me. And it was by this guy, Robert Sepper. And I know some of you guys have seen his work. He also has a channel called Atlantean Gardens, but he's an anthropologist that does actually really, really high quality work. He's been incredibly prolific. He's got all kinds of stuff out there. But, whoever it is that's monitoring or controlling that, YouTube AI, brought me this video first thing in the morning of these men from the Green Dragon Society in ancient, I think, and this one was Japan or China or Tibet, wherever it was, but it was somehow organically shown to me the process by which they were creating that flame in their hand. And so very interesting synchronicity and sort of a confirmation from spirit that this was something that needed to be talked about. And so the really cool thing about it, you guys, and I see your comments there. Thank you for being here. The really cool thing about it is we're going to do a little bit of an experiment here right now because we have a good amount of people. And so what we're going to do is help you guys test your hand chakras as well. And this is absolutely possible. And so how is this going to work? First thing you're going to do is I'd like you to just take your hands. For those of you guys that want to participate, you can absolutely do this. For those of you guys that just want to hang out and watch, you'll probably feel this energy in your face. If you don't participate, and those of you guys that just want to hang out and feel it, your face will probably start to get warm after a while, after what we're going to do. But for those that want to activate your hand chakras, just take your hands and kind of hold them up. And a lot of us have done this before, but you're really just going to start out focusing on your palms. And kind of curve your fingers a little bit. See how I'm curved? So your palms are connecting, and there's a little bit of that concaveness of the palm. So there's a little bit of an opening between there, and you're just going to start circling. Just keep circling your palms. And you're going to start breathing as well. For those of you guys that can do this, this is going to be really fun. You're going to love this. And so you're just going to start breathing and kind of awaken the childhood self. I know you're doing this live on YouTube, and for some of you guys, this is going to be miraculous. For others, you'll be like, yeah, that was cool. But for anyone that really tries, you're about to feel something. And so we'll just keep breathing and holding your palms here and really lean into your imagination. And we're going to do 3 breaths together, like a unit, like a group. And it's like we're going to be breathing in from right here, like this little straw. And you're going to pull that energy right here, right to your heart, literally like two poles on a battery. You know, when you guys are jumping, for those of you guys that have jumped the battery on your car, it's like we're hooking those two little clamps onto the battery right here in the heart, in the pericardium. So keep holding your hands together. You guys are already going to be feeling heat. For those of you guys that have been doing this in the background, you're going to be like, whoa, it's already starting. What? But yeah, keep on going. And so we're going to do 3 breaths. Breathe in through the palm of your hands with me. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hold it. And release. Let that breath go all the way out. You're going to notice your hands already warming up, you guys. You're doing really good. Okay, keep going. Keep those hands. You can just do it gently. Let's do breath number 2. 3, 2, 1. Breathe in all the way. Breathe it right here. And release. Let that breath out. We were a little bit less focused on breath 2. Breath 3 will be even more focused, you guys. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring that breath into the palms of your hands. And then after this 3rd breath, as we let it out, what you're going to do is just hold your palms up like this. You can just do one hand if you want. And I'm actually going to send that energy directly into the palms of your hands. And so you're going to feel an energy. You're going to feel, for some people, it'll be very, very strong. For other people, it's going to be very slight. It's just going to give you a little bit of an idea of where your hand chakras are at. And so just take it all with a grain of salt. And let's just keep bringing that energy into your hands. Here comes breath number 3, and then get ready to receive, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Hold it. And release. You can just hold one hand up or 2 hands, or you can even put no hands up and just notice what you feel. Notice where the energy reaches you. For some of you guys, this will be the most natural thing you've done in a long time. For others, it will feel very strange and alien. You might even have certain thought forms or emotions that rise up in your body. So just notice how you feel. Notice your hands. Very good. Keep going. Good job, guys. You're experiencing direct, multidimensional energy transference. Really good. So we're going to do one last move here, everyone. We're really going to help reach this energy out to those hand chakras. For those of you guys that are just starting to activate. Some of you guys are really good at this, and you're like, oh yeah, I know what he's doing. Whatever, I know this. But for those of you guys that are new and you're trying to tap into those multidimensional healing abilities and your ability to feel and transmit non-physical energy, we're going to do one more breath in, and then I'm going to release a tone. Everyone out there that knows what they're doing, you can actually tone with me. It's just a vibration that our body's going to make. We're going to send that right into the palms of your hands. And so I like to connect with the throat when I do this deliberately, so we can just tap right here. Those of you guys that want to tone with me, tap right at the base of your throat, just a little bit. We're going to do one more big breath in, everybody, and 3, 2, 1. Good job, everyone. Deep, gentle, and slow. Good job. You can take your hand away now. I know for some people, you're like, I'm tired. I've been holding my hands up. Thank you for doing that with us, you guys. Thank you for taking part in just direct chi awakening, sparking. That's your own vital energy. They call it prana, they call it chi. There's a number of forces. They, honestly, in Star Wars, they call it the Force. And so it is absolutely real. And so for some of you guys, that's a very strong sensation. For others, it's something that is just starting. The really cool thing about it is for other people, when you allow yourself to feel that energy, you'll feel it later. It's like this sort of residue will sort of stay with you, and that area of your body oftentimes will feel a bit cold or like a bit warm, or sometimes you'll get big emotions even when you do that. In the very beginning, when I started kind of moving energy with people, I noticed that sometimes I would watch other people do it and I would get really strange conflicting emotions. I would feel ashamed, I would feel unworthy, I would feel like I was doing something wrong. I would feel at times like I was like, I can't, this is dumb, I can't believe I'm even doing it. I would get all kinds of these crazy emotions that would show up in my body. um, and so if you're one of the people that gets that when you try to tune into non-physical energy, you are not alone. It was very, very hard for me. A lot of people tried to say, oh yeah, just sort of do it, do it like this, or, do it like that. Make this column of light and just, put it over your body. Just that's all you got to do. Just put a column of light. And I was, a lot of you guys have heard me say this before, but honestly, I was like, okay, I totally will. I'm absolutely willing to do that. But how? You know what I mean? Like how do you actually do it? Um, and so what I figured out was that it only really worked when I started finding my own way. And a lot of a lot of you guys have already heard me say this, but that's pretty much the reason why I think we were led to start our multi-dimensional training programs, which is kind of I would say the overall kind of message that we're bringing in here today. We are quite literally training people to begin to use and transmit and awaken their latent, natural, intuitive abilities. It is absolutely real. And so, over the past, I think we started on April 1st, and we took our pilot group of ultimately it was 15. We have taken 15 people through a multi-month journey. We're about stage 3 of that multi-month journey. But what the overall design was to awaken intuitive abilities and what are essentially the fourth density energetic state within the human body, to create a more tangible connection with what we would call the light body, the layers of the energy body, what they call, in the Eastern regions, the koshas, the just the many layers of self, both physical and non-physical. And so our whole idea was that by hyper concentrating multidimensional energy into specific energetic structures within the body on a regular basis, in a scheduled manner, over and over and over again over a period of time, while also focusing on emotional issues, while also looking at elements of astrology, while also learning about energetic anatomy, and yes, while also receiving remote rife frequency therapy. By doing all of those things in a combination over a period of time with a specific series of people, we have discovered that it is absolutely possible to very greatly enhance and awaken intuitive healing abilities in the body. Now, what you do with it, what you do with it after that is entirely up to you, and that's where it becomes entirely individual. And I don't believe that there's really any one source on earth that can completely be the be all end all of that. By my understanding is we are meant to develop our own way, and that's one of the greatest things you can do here on earth as a multidimensional being, is really find your own way to develop your own system, your own process, your own frequency. And so over the last few months, that's what we've been doing. At least that's what we've been trying to do. um, and it has been quite successful, which is sometimes a weird thing to say. You know what I mean? It feels like you're bragging when you're like, yeah, we planned this thing and it's actually working. But I think there's times when you have to own it. And so what we are seeing is nearly half of the people within this first group are now launching their websites, are about to launch their website, and are actually transitioning into spiritual work as a form of regular service. And it doesn't mean that for every single person you're going to, become a professional healer or a professional intuitive. But I have to be totally real. A lot of the people in the group, the first group that we have here, and we're about to start number 2, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but they are quite literally, absolutely 100% ready to do this professionally. And so what it taught us was that this was something real, and people keep coming over and over and over again. So if you're one of the people that's here today that feels like, I believe there's an ability, I know that I can do something, and I don't know exactly what it is, but I can feel it. I've noticed I've changed. I've noticed, my relationships have changed. My career has changed. I'm at this jumping off point in my life. what do I do? You know, where do I go? Because a lot of, you know, as you guys have heard, there's really no system within Western or even Eastern society to recognize, to sort of foster, or to help empathic abilities grow. It's just something that has not been fully embraced, and that's really our goal. And so we are starting the next wave of it. It's coming up. Well, we have 2 tracks now, and so I'm going to be talking about that for a little bit. But for those of you guys that want to check it out, you can also just open up a second window or go to our website, rememberyourmission.com. Later on, you guys can check it out. And what will happen is, sorry, I was just looking at a question and almost answering a question in the chat with what I was through what I was going to say next. But you guys can check it out on our website. And so we have 2 tracks right now. One of them is just entirely individual. It's a little bit of a more healing path, and that's just where you will meet with me or Anora every month for a year. It's an ongoing maintenance program where people are going to meet with us for an hour and a half each month to work on whatever it is you want. It's an entirely individual process that can be changed, that can be altered. But it's one of those things that's really geared toward the individual person who's just coming into this. And they're like, well, I think I can do something. I know that I can do something. I really need to work through some healing. I need to work on this. I need to figure out X, Y, and Z in my life. And I know that there's a doorway for me. So like, if you're one of those people and you want to do an entirely individual program, we're starting that. That's something that's available to everyone. I think we're going to be taking 10 people into that track. And so that's live now on the website, as is our the actual formal training program, which for the next batch of it, for class number 2, we're going to be bringing 20 individuals in from all over the world. I think it looks like about 4, maybe 5 of the people from group 1 are going to continue, which is a really cool thing. Because we're creating kind of a community. There's sort of a weird family that's growing together. We're all sort of evolving. And some of the people that are in our first group are going to be teaching classes in the School of Multidimensional Intuition later on. And so it sounds kind of cheesy, but we're sort of training a psychic army of people that are actually able to see through what's happening on Earth right now, are able to heal the self, and are then able to kind of pay it forward and to bring other people into this new frequency. And so you can also check that out. That's also on the website as well. And that's the multidimensional training program. We also use that one in conjunction with Rife Therapy. The monthly training program is a little bit different. That's just us meeting each month for a year. For those of you guys that want to go all the way and really be a part of the whole group experience, both individually and on the group wise, you can also check out that one at the website. And there's a little bit of an interview. We do a pre-interview just to make sure it's the right fit, because some of us are here to heal and then to launch. Others are here and they've done the work and they've done a lot of healing. And usually those that have know that they continue to heal and it's an ongoing thing. But they will be in a little bit of a different situation and they're poised to launch. And it's not that we give them a modality. It's not that we say, here's what you're going to do or be. I think what we're really doing is creating a space for people to exchange their work, to do what they do, to do sessions with other people, to do it in a safe way, to get feedback, and to also receive this highly concentrated amount of energy over and over and over again. And what happens is it just creates rapid change within the individual. And so anyway, I'm sort of just ranting on our training programs. Thanks for hanging out, you guys. Thank you, Krista. The new and improved Dumbledore's Army. Totally. I love that, actually. I try not to make comparisons like that because I'm afraid other people will make fun of me, but I love it when other people make those comparisons. So thank you, Krista. I appreciate it. Thanks, Samantha. Yeah, check it out. For those of you guys that are interested, you can totally check it out. Also, email me if you have questions about how that works. Payments are also available. So yeah, let us know if you have any questions. I've been ranting on for at least 20 minutes here. Thank you, Geraldine. She says, registration closed. I wonder. I certainly hope it's not. If you go over to private sessions on our website, you will find it right there. At least I believe it's there. Yeah, you'll have to request to book. That's just kind of how we have it set up. I think on the event page, for those of you guys that actually go to our website, on the event page, you will notice that that event, I think I might have mistakenly reloaded it, and it's it's the previous 6-month version, but we also have a new one, and that's accessible at the link there below. I need to put the larger description up, but within the group training program, there is I will say this, just for full transparency, there's a lot of work involved, especially some of the people that are here in our chat will know we meet every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks we meet individually. Every 2 weeks we also meet as a group, which brings me to one of the really cool changes for the next wave of training for the official group training program, is that we're going to be bringing back our chakra class. We're going to be bringing back the meridian class, which we only did once. It was a bold move. Oh my God, we're doing it. We're bringing it back. And also the tarot class. But what we're doing is this is basically going to be the structure, you guys. So you will meet with me or Nora every other week. That's how it goes for 6 months. But in the other weeks during the month, you will have one group meeting where we just all show up as a group. Those in group 1 have been doing it every other 2 weeks. So we're going to do one group meeting in our next class. And then the other class, which was going to be the group meeting, is actually going to be the formal class. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. You're going to be meeting multiple times a month with this strange group of individuals, myself included, actually mostly me. And so, yeah, it's going to be a really fun journey. And so unfortunately we're only taking, it looks like 30 people in total for the entire process. And other people have said, why are you only taking 30 people? Because there's only 2 of us, actually. There's just me and Honora. Honora actually also has another job as a therapist working with children. And so while it is my full-time journey, there's just not enough time to get to everyone. And so that's kind of why we have it capped at a certain amount of people. So yeah, check it out. Let us know if you're interested. Beginning Hope, thanks for being here. When does it start? Group training starts October 1st. Individual private training starts probably within the next 30 days for those that want to do the monthly training process where we just meet every month and go over whatever it is that you want to work on. That can actually be started at most any time, but we're going to sort of end the recruitment cycle right around October 1st. And so it's going to be open for the next, I think, about month and a half, and then we're going to close it. And so, yeah, jump in while you can. Feel free to reach out with any other questions. Yeah, I also see a lot of your other questions here, so let me kind of scroll up again to that. I appreciate you. Thank you, Geraldine. We're going to get that website fixed. Thanks, Samantha. Still feels kind of surreal. I feel you, Nora. Thank you, Vicky Guan. Thanks for being here and taking part in our energetic experimentation. Honestly, that's a really good sign. If you can feel it going all the way down to your feet, that is a sign that you are actually opening up those pathways of energy in your body. The fact that you could even tell that it went down to your feet means that there's literally a connection there and that you are feeling that. And the really cool thing about it, you guys, when we do stuff like that, that's your energy, your own life force energy awakening. No one's putting anything inside you, you know what I mean? It has nothing to do with entities or attachments. That's you opening yourself up to the multidimensional energy that is available to all, to everyone. It does take focus. It does take a lot of work. But some people are naturally good at it. You might be one of them. Thank you, Kayla. Thanks for being here. It does. It'll sort of open up emotions within the self. I appreciate you. Especially everyone else that got emotions. Sometimes you will aim, energy right into the pericardium, and somebody will say, well, wait, why would you get emotional when you do this hand chakra activation thing over YouTube? Why would you feel anything there? Well, primarily because the sort of doorway that opens within the hand to allow the transfer of that energy is within the pericardium meridian. Yes, there's a number of other structures there, but that's kind of like the primary sort of mover or the pathway of that energy. Now, the reason why people get emotional is because the pericardium as a structure or a meridian in the body responds very heavily to harsh emotions, difficult emotions, all just big emotions of any type. Does not have to be negative, which is why they call the pericardium, I believe they call it the king's bodyguard. There's a number of fanciful terms for it, but what it essentially is this membrane that guards the heart. And so what happens is when we actually open our energy, and you'll feel it move up through your palm, or whatever sensation that you receive. Not everyone feels it physically. Some people will see it visually, some people will hear a sound, some people have a feeling in their body, other people feel emotion. I would say if you feel emotional when you get that transference, that's usually a sign that you might have a lot of emotion in the body, but also that the emotions will be your sort of catalyzing energy through which you can create a lot of change. And so anyway, to get back to the pericardium, the reason why one would get emotional upon an energy transference is because the pericardium responds to wounds, emotional wounds that have just been dealt over time. A really good example of this, you guys, is everyone had this experience when you were a kid. Let's say you were in school and someone said something to you, or you did something, and it was probably one of the first times you had this experience as a child, and someone said something and you were all, boom, it just pierced you. It just hit you in this crazy way. And I guarantee you, for those of you that are here, every single person can think of at least one or two times in their life when someone said something and they went, boom, and it hit you. And maybe you even went like this. You'll even see, older people, they'll be like, oh, they'll sort of, take that unconscious posture when they're emotionally shocked. That's basically a manifestation of just a pericardium energy, and when something harsh hits the body there. And so the reason why we get emotional, once again, is because that opens up, and it's sort of like the layers of wounding or the layers of emotion will start to kind of, purge themselves from the body, I guess we could say. So anyway, I think that makes sense. Thanks for being here. Geraldine says, what time are the group sessions usually? Well, right now, our group sessions are every other Saturday, and they are at 1 p.m., or no, excuse me, 3 p.m. Pacific time. And so for, I think some of the people in Europe, that's at a very later, that's at a pretty late time. I think for the people in Australia, that's sometime in the morning. For those of us in the US, which is the bulk of our people, it's either going to be in the afternoon or in the evening, depending on where you are. And so, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yes, thank you. Sunday, Carissa. Oh, I love you. Thank you for being here. She totally corrected us. They're actually Sundays. Thank you, Carissa. Appreciate you. She's like, actually, Matthew, you've been doing these sessions for 5 months straight, and they're on Sunday. Thank you. I should know, right? But honestly, you guys, I am one of those people where it's like half the time I'm like, what day is it? The only way I usually know is because I'll look at my schedule on the website and I'm like, okay, I have these people coming up. That means it's this day. And which is awkward because for those of us in the training program, you'll know that got really intense recently and my schedules are all sort of jacked up. And yeah, no, totally. We don't know time anywhere. Totally. Thank you. 11 p.m. for the UK. Yeah, for some people, that's pretty late. Depending on how it goes with our group too, we might do, a different time frame. The way that we did it the first time is that we just took a vote. We offered this time up and no one, you know what I mean? Everyone kind of agreed to show up. So it could actually change. It could actually change. And so, but for everyone else, let's say everyone else, maybe you just kind of want to be a part of what you're doing. You'd like to try it out. You'd like to show up and just, all right, what's this guy talking about? What are they actually doing? We have an even cooler opportunity showing up. And that is on Saturday, August 21st. And this is in our Patreon group. And we have one of the things that's been happening within Patreon is we're sort of kind of changing it around a little bit. We're bringing in new energies and sort of new processes and new stuff. And so coming up on August 21st in our Patreon group, we're going to have Ivan Teller, who is an incredible channeler. I honestly, you guys, it's kind of like a fan moment for me because I actually watch Ivan Teller pretty much every day. Pretty much every day I watch this guy's channelings. And so for those of you guys that want to check him out, please do just open up another window. He's on YouTube. I think it's just under Ivan Teller, but he's going to be joining us on Saturday, August 21st at 1 p.m. Pacific. In our Patreon group to just do a live talk and a live interview just about channeling, about multidimensional energy, a bit of a Q&A. It's going to be totally uncensored, so people can show up and ask about whatever they want. You can ask about whatever you want. Doesn't mean that we would have the answers. I have to be real. But it's just a really good place to talk about stuff that, might be you know, prohibited in social media. And so I want to let everyone know we are going to post the conversation and the interview with Ivan publicly for free afterward. We're going to go through and cut out all the prohibited keywords because I'm really lucky about staying underneath the radar in terms of censorship. And so I have amazing invisibility uh, spell. Maybe it's a curse. Um, who knows? But at any rate, we are going to be posting that free for everyone later. So let's say you're one of those people that's like, "What? You want me to join your Patreon just to do this?" Because if you're like me, honestly, I see that and I'm like, "What? I don't know, man. I don't want to join this whole thing." And so you can just join. You can literally show up. You can pay $10 one time and take part in our event, and then you can bounce. I'm not one of those people that gets upset when people leave our Patreon. Some of us here are like, I just want to do this thing and try this thing out. And so you can totally do that. You can show up once and then totally take off. But yeah, join us if you're interested. I'm going to put the link down here as I'm kind of starting to drool on myself. Some of you guys will tell when it happens. It does happen from time to time. And so I'm going to grab the link here, you guys. Sorry, I'm not even looking at myself on the screen. That's a dangerous thing to do when you're on live stream. Okay. So in the meantime, let me know if you guys have any questions. I see your comments there, which I apologize, I keep on ignoring. There we go. Okay, I finally have the link. Thanks, everybody. Bam. There we go. So you can join us August 21st at 1 p.m. Pacific. So we did have a really cool question. Thank you, Jeremy Burt. He said, can we talk about multidimensional higher selves? Absolutely. I will give you my take and my understanding, and also what was given to me literally by another intuitive who viewed this along with me and really helped me figure out, actually multiple people at this stage really helped me figure this out. And so I want to start by saying, I do not know if this is how it is for everyone. However, I do suspect that everyone has a similar construct or a similar thing within their life. And so the multidimensional higher self council, at least for Matthew, is what we call the higher self. When we sort of tune in with, the spiritualized, non-physical aspects of our consciousness that many of us call the higher self, at least in my case, and I believe many others on the earth plane, we're actually tuning into an entire council of beings, a collection of consciousnesses that are you, that have existed and do currently exist within the higher multidimensional realms. It's kind of like, and this is a very basic and haphazard third density explanation, but it's kind of like having your own literal council of beings available to you at all times. The only difference is for many of us here on the earth plane, what we encounter as our thought processes, the internal dialogue, what goes on within the internal realm. Many of us classify, or in some cases misunderstand, that as us talking solely to ourselves, into what some people just describe as an echo chamber of the self, when in reality we're actually in constant contact with a myriad of versions of us that are all existing in the now moment, who have lent a piece of their consciousness to us in this physical realm for very specific purposes. Some people will call that your mission, although there are many missions in this life. And there are also many members of this higher dimensional or higher self council. And by my understanding, it's a revolving sort of cast of characters and many elements of fractalized consciousness that will constantly change place over the course of the life cycle, depending on what the current mission is, what you're working on, what you're healing, what you're dealing with. And so right now we are at the stage of our collective consciousness in which those connections are becoming much more tangible. They are much more available to people. We are in much greater sort of conscious contact with the sort of spiritual hierarchy. And so the multidimensional higher self council does not, it doesn't contradict the idea of oneness on any level. It does not take away from, the concept that we are all one consciousness, or, this source experiencing itself. Absolutely not. It is, by my understanding, merely the observance and the awareness that on earth our self is made up of many selves, many versions of us. And so, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Thank you, Jeremy. Oh, and thank you for your comments as well. Appreciate you. All fun stuff says, can I ask you what you think about the jab and higher self? You can. I can talk about it hopefully in an appropriate way for our audience here that doesn't cause me to get smacked off the air, which probably won't happen. It's a weird thing. But I believe that it is a timeline choice that certain people are making right now. I believe it represents one of the many elements of etheric and also technological, both physical and non-physical control structures that are being placed within and around the third density society for the purpose of linking our consciousness on a mass level with what appears to be an inorganic frequency, what some people could call, and yes, we're getting very woo-woo here, guys, what some people could call an ancient AI or artificially intelligent signal that comes around at certain stages of crystallization and, on Earth or in many other realms, at certain chapters of development. A great splitting will occur in which the ensouled beings within that consciously aware sphere will start to make new choices. They'll start to choose new realities. And so that is what some people would call at this stage the sort of induction of that reality into the body. And you guys can tell I'm speaking totally symbolically and vaguely. Some of you guys are going to be like, oh, come on. But you guys know what I'm saying. We will speak much more explicitly about this on August 21st. But what you're essentially doing is taking an operating system into the body. The operating system is going to be changing and altering just the flow of conscious energy and unconscious energy within the body. You can tell I'm getting tongue-tied here, trying to use proper words. Well, I guess I'll just be real. What is it really going to do with everyone? It's going to cause the majority of people within a certain age group to become infertile over the next 5 to 10 years. It is going to cause another element of the population to have the next indicated genetic condition to be activated within the body. For some people, it's a stroke. For some people, it's heart disease. For some people, it's a blood clot in your lungs. For some people, it's this or that, or cancer or heart disease or diabetes. But whatever it is, it's front loading and sort of pushing things up, kind of like a cat will do, on the table. Don't knock it over. It's knocking it over and entering it into your system. And so what it is essentially doing is a form of population control. There are many, many different layers of it, far too many to really accurately explain here within the context of a YouTube live without getting shut down. But it is equal parts spiritual, it is equal parts technological, it is equal parts alien, and it is also equal parts just plain Earth energy and just plain third density control. And so anyway, for some of you guys, that was a super vaguely constructed word salad explanation. For others, you're sort of picking up the overall frequency. And for those of you guys that want to get the internalized version, I know this is always a weird thing to say for some of you that haven't been on the live stream, but you can focus on the left eye, my left eye, also other people's left eyes when you're having sort of a deep conversation or you're trying to read the non-physical energy or receive what some people would call the telepathically transmitted energy. Focus on the left eye. For those that are able to receive it, you will also get an entirely separate internalized slideshow of that energy. I should have said that at the beginning of this live stream today, because it's very useful when you sort of create that wavelength in the beginning, and it allows people to receive energy just differently when you're speaking. For those of you guys for whom that statement is not super weird and actually makes a little bit of sense, another thing you can do is when you're talking to people, really focus on sending energy through your left eye. How will you do that? One of the ways you can experiment with that is while you're having a conversation with someone, try to start having a conversation underneath. Like as you're speaking, try to send a separate type of a message or an emotion or a thought form underneath. Understand that one of the portals through which you will send that energy is through your left eye. Now, both eyes send energy, but the left eye is activating as one of the, just the most prevalent energy portals in the human body right now. And so it's a really, really good thing to tune into. You will also watch people on popular media, people on television. You will also start seeing changes within the left eye. You will see an organic version of it, and you will see an inorganic version of it. So it's fascinating. We will be talking more about it in other live streams as time goes on. Saw that comment go by. She says, Linda G says there's 12 of us running around. There probably are. There probably are. Makes sense in a weird way. Maybe more than 12. I don't know. But honestly, I kind of believe it. I kind of believe it. I think that a lot of the sort of identity or persona shifts that we have in this physical life cycle are often us coming in contact or even joining, unifying with other versions of ourselves on other timelines. It's a literally real thing. Samantha says, I've heard that it severs connection between the body and the soul. Do you think this is the case? Here's the thing. I think that could be possible. It could be possible. I do not believe that the current round of, medical technology being introduced into the populace, I do not believe that the current rounds of it being passed around are cutting off the body between the soul. Not at all. I think what it's doing is loading something into the interstitial spaces between and within your energetic anatomy, around the sides of the brain where heavy metal toxicity lodges, throughout the lymphatic system, throughout the spinal column, throughout the vagus nerve. And it's kind of setting up an infrastructure that over the coming years could, I think, on some level be observed as, disconnecting the self from other elements of the self. There is one thing we know, that, the genes have been isolated in terms of, the tendency to believe in spirituality, the tendency to, greatly align with spiritual themes or spiritual concepts has already been cataloged through science. It's known as the VMAT2 gene. I think there's a couple others alongside it. I don't remember the names of it. But it has already been named. Not that that's actually it, but at the very least, it's been discussed through science. And so I do not believe it cuts you off from your soul. I do also believe that there's probably nothing that cannot be transmuted or healed or purged from the body. If there's one thing I know at this stage, and I think everyone here has seen this in their own way, is that the human race is one of the most adaptable and just resilient. And we will absolutely overcome. We will absolutely transmute. We will absolutely heal. And I do not personally believe that there is anything that an outside source can do to cut yourself off from your divinity, aside from you making that choice within yourself. And so, who knows? I could be wrong. I think that's something that we are all figuring out together. I definitely do not subscribe to the segregation timeline. I do not believe that you need to be separate from other people that take this thing. I think that is an absolutely, and I don't want to be judgmental, because I know there's a lot of people that I respect out there that are like, we have to be separate. You cannot be around this. Honestly, I see that as an extension of the divide and conquer ideology, the separation and segregation timeline from the other side. And so anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff wrapped up in there that who knows if we want to get into it. I don't know. But thank you, Mystic Macrophage. My dad went blind in his left eye recently. He's a very 3D guy, unfortunately. Any correlation? That's a very good question. That is a very good question. I think in each case, it's going to be for different reasons. I think it depends upon a number of factors in the life. In some cases, that will be a doorway that closes for some people that could have to do with a physical abnormality or a change in eyesight. I can tell you that when the left eye phenomenon opened for me, it was in 2019. And I actually thought I was going blind for a few months, you guys. I was talking about this at the Family of Light conference. But I had this opening occur in my left eye in 2019 when I went to Mount Shasta. And it was like a blue dot showed up in my eye. And it was like kind of at about like the 10 o'clock position. As I would close my eyes, I would see this blue dot. It's always there now. It looks like there's a bunch of little stars swimming around inside it. But for a while, as my left eye gets weird as I do that. Wow, that's very interesting. And so for a while, I thought I was going blind. I had this permanent blue dot in my eye, and it's like you could still see, but there was an imprint over it. Mostly when I would close my eye, and over the course of, I would say, a few months, just something started changing. I started to like kind of blink my eyes like this, you guys, which looks weird, but I would blink my eyes and sort of close them in a certain way. And I realized that I could see through this strange opening in my eye, which sounds bizarre. Some people are like, hell? You're telling me you saw through this opening in your eye? Yeah, I actually did. And what I noticed was that there was just, it sounds so crazy, there were things on the other side of that. It was an opening into what appeared to be other realms, other forms of energy, other wavelengths of something. And I began to seek out counsel. I found other people. I observed this phenomenon in others. I met with other healers, channelers, in an attempt to understand what it was. And I am still understanding what it is. But what I did figure out was that no, I am definitely not blind in my left eye. I still see everything normally. Not to say I had good eyesight to begin with, because my eyesight's horrible. But what I begin to discover is that it is very much an energy doorway, and it corresponds with other openings happening in the energy body that take place in predetermined intervals for each of us at certain times. And so it doesn't mean that everyone right now is having a left eye portal opening, but what it does mean is that for, I would say, most of us, if you're aware of this information here, there will be some form of portal opening happening within the human body, whether that be within the eyes, whether that be within the third eye, the crown chakra. For some people, it's in the emotional body. Some people are starting to astral project. Some people are, just awakening into whole new stages of the journey, and it will have to do with certain gateways opening in the body. Other very notable portals would be the navel chakra, the third eye, like I just mentioned. A lot of people have heard me mention the Bindu chakra, which is actually a collection, I think, of several just kind of openings in the energy body. That's in the back of your head. You could describe it as the back of your third eye, possibly, but everyone's having a bit of an opening. And some of us are having opening in all those areas. Some of them just one. Some of us are about to. But it is absolutely real. And so anyway, I don't know that answers the question about what happened with your dad's blindness. It's just kind of me kind of rambling on about your comment, but thank you for being here. Yeah. Thank you. Wendy S. says, thoughts on when had to get it, plus not wanted it. With our body spirit rejecting it, we are not in alignment with it, showing up as an autoimmune issues, vertigo, tinnitus, pins, needles, migraines, etc. I believe that's probably what it is. The body's not in alignment with a certain substance. And honestly, there's just a really wild cocktail of all sorts of stuff within those that for some people on the earth plane will have literally no effect. Literally none whatsoever. For others, depending on the predetermined conditions or energies within the body, it will be catastrophic. And so it is not a death sentence. But here's the thing. We are all figuring this out together. We are all figuring this out together. And if there's anything, especially the people that work with me like regularly, you'll know it's like next week I could be like, guess what, guys, we were wrong. Turns out it's this. And, I do that constantly. I think that if you're going to be a professional within, this realm or this sort of sector of society in which we work, you have to be willing and able to evolve and constantly revise your conclusions about what you understand to be real. I think one of the most stagnating things we can do as professional intuitives or healers is stay the same. We must allow for evolution. We must allow for certain elements of ourself to even be destroyed. Certain ideas, outlooks, modalities, behaviors, they will have to come to pass and they'll have to bring in new ones. And so, honestly, I'm one of those people. Next month, I could be like, it's the most toxic thing ever, everyone. We got to move to an island. Who knows? If the collective consciousness shows that as the frequency of truth, then I believe that's something that, who knows, I might be talking about later on. But for right now, I don't know. Feels like a timeline choice, one that I'm not going to make. I can tell you that much. Cool Awareness says, hey, Matt, I'm wondering if you work with walk-ins or do you have a recommendation of a source? Thank you. That's a very good question. I actually thought that I had a walk-in experience, and this was in June of 2015. A lot of people have heard me say this story, so some of them will tune out. But I was leading an entirely different type of life and in a very different body as a very different person in a very different place up until about summer of 2015 when somebody opened up my crown chakra at just this sort of outdoor fair I was working at. And by my understanding and experience that has been demonstrated to be multiple times since that period, that I actually had somewhat of a walk-in experience, but what I believe to be more specific, and maybe this is just another label, I believe I had what was called the braided soul activation, which is similar to a walk-in, except an outside consciousness does not enter the body. And so when a walk-in experience happened, whether it be through trauma, opening, or predetermined agreement within this physical life cycle, a new consciousness enters, and an old consciousness leaves, meaning a new version of you walks into your body, and then the old one goes away. And sometimes the memories are there, sometimes they aren't. And there's many different versions of walk-ins, many different versions of it. Some people are very fractured walk-ins. Other people just snap into a new stage of identity. In my case, I have what I believe to be a braided soul event, in which when certain conditions were met within my energy body, it was as if something started to unravel and something started to open up. It was not that the old Matthew left, or honestly, there was a little bit of a departure in the sense that I was just a totally different being for many years, totally different line of work, just completely different. It was as if another version of me showed up. The old one didn't leave, something new came in. And what I also understood it as is a future self integration. One of the events that can happen for people in this life, in which a future version of you existing on an alternate timeline in a different position will actually make a choice to join with your consciousness, kind of like, two silhouettes kind of joining together into one now moment. And so I believe I also had an experience like that. And it took me a while to kind of figure out that that's what was happening. But for me, it was every single thing in my life changed in 2015 and beyond. It was like within 30 days of that moment, my body started changing, my mind started changing. Just things that had been going on in my life for years suddenly came to a grinding halt. It was one of the most traumatic periods in my life. And that was right around the time earlier on in this live stream I was saying, there was this flame that had erupted in my hands. I was glitching out in the shower, and this little burst of flame came out. And so for me, that was just the awakening process. It was absolutely bewildering. And what came out of it was about 2 years later, only about a year and a half, 2 years later, I launched into a whole different just stage of my life. I went into service as a professional intuitive, as a professional healer that we are here. And it's still kind of weird to say that out loud. But it's literally what happened, which I guess honestly, and maybe this will sound a little weird, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. One of the things I had realized over the past year was that if there was anything that I had ever done right in this life, it was that I had transitioned away from a third density life, from a previously stagnated version of myself. I put everything on the line, and through the assistance of Spirit and many others, I was able to launch into an entirely new chapter, just a new identity. As evidenced by us here on this live stream, as evidenced by it always sounds cheesy, but the multitude, thousand people that we've encountered over the past year since. It was like Spirit supported that in some way. And I'll be honest with you guys, every now and then people from my old life show up in here. Someone still knows me on Facebook from back when I was doing bands and music. And honestly, I think I was like 212 pounds. I was just in a totally different body, just way bigger, way angrier, just way more bitter. Every now and then some of those people show up still in my live streams randomly, and they're like, what the hell? What? Oh my God. And who knows, what they say. Maybe they're resentful, maybe they make fun of it, maybe they're impressed, but it was like Spirit supported that. Spirit supported it. And here we are several years later, and now we are literally teaching people to do this actual thing that we are doing. And so anyway, I'm very, very grateful for that experience. Thank you, Mary Highstand. She says, I've been experiencing so much pressure in my head, and my scalp is so sensitive during these energies. Any thoughts on this? Mary Highstand, for you, I think it has to do with a bit of an energetic upgrade that you're having. If you want to start learning about the meridians within your body, primarily for you, it's going to be probably the governing vessel and conception vessel, the central channels. They go right over the top of the head, as is also for you. And you know, forgive me. Hopefully, you're still here, and I am reading into your energy and not someone else's. But also, a lot of what we could call urinary bladder meridian energy will sort of coagulate around the head and the back of the head as well. And so that can cause us to feel triggered. It can cause us to feel nervous. It could cause us to feel fearful. It could cause us to have this sort of kind of phantom angst where you're kind of like, you're just tightened, you're a little bit pressurized, you don't know exactly what to, you know, it's just a little bit pressurized. And so for some people, that'll show up in sensations on the body, that'll show up in just difficult emotions, but it could be a little bit of that, Mary Highstand. I hope it makes sense. I would say if you can start, well, I guess I'll be kind of specific, Mary. Honestly, if you start jumping on a trampoline, if you're capable of doing it, or just really concentrating or starting to move your lymphatic system around, I think you're going to shake a lot of the energy away from the upper chakras. It could also just be to, you know, a lot of us are just kind of stagnated right now, and there's not that much physical activity. It does feel like a certain amount of it will probably have to do with Lionsgate energy as well. And so also work with your crown chakra. Anyway, I think I'm just kind of ran. Oh, I see you there. I see you there. Hello, thank you for being here. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, work with your crown chakra. Here is a crown chakra mantra, everyone, that you can use. You can chant this. You can say it. It is Ogam Satyam Om. I will even do it for you. It's Ogam Satyam Om. That probably sounded horrible because I've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes, but it's Ogam Satyam Om. I will put it in the chat. So my voice is a little rattly at the moment. So I'm going to put it in the chat for you guys. You guys can use this to charge, open, clear, activate the crown chakra. This is well established, very, very effective. Ogam Satyam Om. Will open your crown. So try it out. Let us know how you do. Thank you. Thank you, Cool Awareness. Thank you for sharing. This is so interesting. I believe I'm meant to speak about my walk and my story. Absolutely. It's funny you would say that, Cool Awareness. I think that's a really big thing that a lot of people are coming to, well, no pun intended, an awareness of right now. Many of us are going to be called to tell our story. I think for a lot of the people in our training program, well, I'll just say it, in class 2, that's going to be a requirement. You're going to have to tell your story, because what we find is for those, when you're willing to show up publicly in some form, especially those that are really about to launch themselves into a new chapter of service or the mission, one of the gateways toward doing that is really telling your story and telling about what happened to you. How did you get here? How did it go? What happened? There is a very distinct effect that will have for certain people. It will actually allow you to move forward in a way that some people right now feel stuck. They'll already know a thing has happened in their life. They will already know that it's real. And once you tell the story and sort of name it, it starts to interact differently. And so, yeah, I hope that makes sense. And thank you, Carissa. I appreciate you. No, it was just, yeah, my voice was all torn up. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, it might be time to tell the story. The other cool thing that happens when we sort of make an announcement of our story and like the whole process of what happened to us and, you know, how we got here, is it has the effect of organically drawing other people to you. It will pull other people into your experience. It kind of starts to summon a similar vibration around you. So thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Michelle Huey. Biofulvic formula. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fulvic acid, you guys, will change your life. One of the most useful and understated detox minerals or substances out there, fulvic acid. There's many different forms of it. I use a one called, I believe it's, oh Lord, I forgot the name. You can find it on Amazon. I think it's like Idon Nutraceuticals or something like that. At any rate, liquid fulvic acid will actually help oxidize the heavy metal. Some people call it banding or buildup or just ringing. There's a ringing effect that takes place. Has a tremendous effect on your mental clarity, your emotional well-being, your ability to tap into higher states of awareness, your ability to maintain a conscious contact with just spiritual energy. And so heavy metal detox will change your life. Jeremy Burr says, do you have a favorite exercise or breath to help move trauma and stuck kundalini? I do Qigong. That has been the number one thing for me. Other people will do different, modalities or conscious movement, but I do a Qigong routine before every single session. Sometimes I get weird and angry and crazy here in our little one-room, pod here in LA, and I'll just do Qigong for like hours a day. For me, that has been the number one most powerful tool that I have ever encountered in my physical lifetime to help move or balance energy on a physical level. By creating a daily practice of Qigong, you will literally stop getting sick. Seriously. I beg you to, ladies and gentlemen that finds this in the multidimensional realms, prove me wrong. Please, please, please prove me wrong. Do Qigong every day for 30 days, a minimum of 15 minutes to half an hour every day for 30 days, and then come back and try to tell the world that your life has not improved, that your energy is not more centered, that you are not more calm, that certain chronic conditions are not going away. Because the wild thing is they will. They absolutely, literally will. And one of the cool things is in the next round of training, we're going to be bringing in a new Qigong routine. And it's been difficult for me to maintain the Qigong kind of processes that we're doing while we're here in LA, because what we have to do, one day before we move, you guys, we're going to take a picture of where we live, and you'll be like, how did they fit in that one little room? Because we have to rearrange everything within this space. On the Patreon things, like, the group stuff, when I've done Qigong here, we have to literally rearrange our whole entire little mini apartment to make that work. And so once we move, though, we are blessed to have a lot more room to be able to do that. And so in the coming months, we're going to be doing maybe even individual Qigong routines with people in the group, because we'll finally have the space to do it. I am so incredibly grateful for that. Absolutely. Really, we are really looking forward to moving to Florida, you guys. Never thought I'd say it. I saw a question there. Somebody said, when does this thing start? When does this 6-month training start? Angeline Sunrise, it starts probably around the first week of October is when the group starts again. And how does that go? The first session is with me, in which we do a very, very deep cleaning of the energy body. Not everyone coming into our training program has worked with me before. Most of them have, but I've noticed there's already a number of new people coming in. And so the first session is with me, where we do a very deep clearing. The second session is with my wife, Honora, where she does an astral cartography reading. It's sort of a hybrid version of astrology mixed with a number of other modalities. And what she does is she creates sort of a treatment plan, or sort of just a plan going forward in terms of what are you good at? What are you triggered by? What do you need to know about what's happening right now? Where do your planets, sort of align, and what influences do you have? And so that's session 2. Session 3, I believe, is probably going to be our first group meeting. It might be session 4, so you might have 3 private sessions before the first group meeting, just depending on the flow of how we start. The way we want to do it is that session 3 is with the entire group. But what we learned in the first class was that, just based on scheduling, it wasn't entirely practical, but within the first month, you will have 3 private sessions and a group meeting in which we go over, what we're doing. And I guess the funnest part, sorry to make this such an infomercial, guys, somebody's going to get triggered. But I guess the funnest part is that we use remote Rife therapy. And so everyone that enters the group training program, the group one, not the individual one that's monthly, but the actual 20-person training pod that we're starting, you will also send in your DNA in the form of the fingernail or toenail. And what we do is put it in our Rife transmitter, which honestly I should show you guys, because it's literally right here next to me. I think I'm going to unplug one and hold it up. Because a lot of people ask about Rife stuff and they're like, well, wait, what are you guys actually doing? What is this sort of Rife generator? What is a frequency generator? Like, what do they actually look like? Is it some sort of, like a transmitting device? Like, what is it actually? Cool. I just unplugged it. And so I will show you guys, when we talk about Rife therapy, we are talking about this right here. This is a Spooky 2 XM Rife generator. And so what does this do? This basically transmits Rife frequency directly into the DNA in a localized area, and also literally anywhere in, I know this, get ready for a woo-woo statement, guys, anywhere in the world. Honestly, wherever you are, it has ability to just transmit energy directly into the body through quantum entanglement using your DNA. And so what we do in the training program, which is what makes it different from nearly everything else out there, is that everyone receives just ongoing Rife treatment therapy for the 6-month period. And so the reason why I'm holding this up, you guys, is because a lot of people ask, like, what is it that, what are you actually doing with Rife treatment? How does that actually work? So what we do is you will send in your DNA in the form of a fingernail or a toenail, which is the most durable form of DNA. And what we do is we place it in a little slide, little stickers right here, and we put them inside this little container. And so this is the transmitter box. And so you can put many people in there. I've heard of them putting up to 50 people in there. We don't actually do it that way. We have 8 of them. We will have 10 of them by the time we start the next one. So it's an absolutely fascinating modality. It's delicate to talk about over social media for fear of, some form of censorship, but it was proven many decades ago that Rife therapy has the ability to greatly enhance and seemingly cure, such a dangerous term, seemingly cure, seemingly, many different ailments within the body, both physical, non-physical, spiritual, emotional. It is a well-established and also pretty suppressed form of healing therapy. And so I think that's the thing that really makes our program unique, is that not only do you receive, a physical detox, you receive a Rife detox, you will go through a dedicated process of really enhancing the human energy field through a number of forms. And so anyway, if you're like me, you'll be like, why does that guy keep talking about the same thing over and over again? So we will pause it there. Let me know if you have any questions about that stuff. Thank you, Radiant Seed Pod. I appreciate you. Yes, absolutely. Honora is amazing. She's talking about my wife, Honora. Her primary work is actually with children. She's a child therapist working with autistic and disabled children. But she does incredible, just absolutely shocking work. And then she also works with me in our training program. And she's probably the most naturally born psychic I've ever met. You know what I mean? It is a trip. But anyway. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me for an hour and a half. Cool Awareness says, Matt, do you happen to use zeolite or know of it for detoxing? As I'm drooling on myself once again, I have used zeolite. I did not notice much of an effect of it. I noticed much. Actually, no, I'll be honest with you. When I use zeolite, I think I got very constipated. I think also because I did not take it properly, I might have not been on the proper hydration process at the time. But what I did find is that when I started using liquid bentonite, that to me was the most powerful detox, I guess, substance for the intestines. I'm trying to think of the right word. But for some people, they will use zeolites. Some people will use bentonite. Some people use diatomaceous earth, which has a bit of both of those in it already, I believe. But it's different for everyone. For me, liquid bentonite's been the number one, absolute number one for that form of detox. Liquid bentonite, fulvic acid, a number of other things. And so yes, we will have another group in the spring, probably right around April. It will be starting again. Yeah. Thank you, Jewel, Heart and Soul. I feel nostalgic. The first sessions in the first group meeting feels like ages ago, right? I know we have been on a very we have been on a wild journey. Like everyone's been through many versions of themselves, all kinds of stresses, little bit of triggering, lots of energy, new understandings of self, honestly, new abilities. Sometimes it sounds like a cheesy woo-woo thing to talk about, in places like this, but it is absolutely real, as evidenced by, you guys, some of the work that I've received from the people in our training programs, which has been absolutely astounding. I mean, blowing me away. I had a session from one of the people in our training program. I don't know if I can say her name. I hope she won't get mad at me. She probably won't care, but her name is Heather, and she's in our training program. She did a scalar toning session with me. I think it was on Wednesday of this week. And for those of you guys that don't know, scalar toning is a process that we were doing much earlier in our live stream. It's a tone that you make with the body, and it creates an actual form of scalar wave technology, or a wavelength that just has the ability to open up the non-physical body in shocking ways. And I received a scalar toning session from Heather in our group, and honestly, you guys, there's a thing that happens to me and other people. When you hit a certain area of the energy body, when you have a certain type of opening, when a certain frequency is ready to be released from the human body. I have observed it with scalar toning as well. And it was one of the things that first showed me in the beginning that there was something actually working, because after I had the initial experiences where I was activated into what we were doing, and that's a long story. I'll get into it if people want to hear it, but a lot of you guys have heard the story before. When I started using it on a regular basis, I noticed that I would create a tone or a wavelength, and I would actually, hopefully it'll come back. Hopefully our live stream didn't just die. It looks like it's still working. Let me know if let me know if we're still there. My screen just went black, but it came back. But I noticed that when we would aim that energy at certain areas of the body, people would have incredible reactions. And it was really cool to have that as an experiencer, as a receiver. And so what I've noticed, though, in getting back to it, because our screen like glitched out there and it kind of pulled me out of everything went black for a moment, you guys. It was a trip. But what I have observed is that when you aim energy at certain areas of the energy body, you will create an emotional release that for some people is explosive. And for me, and what I also observed in other people, was that I think it has to do with interactivity with the urinary bladder, the thymic chakra, the heart chakra, and the pericardium, and just a strange mixture of energy within the body that when tapped, you will have this wild and intense emotional release. And I actually had that with Heather this Wednesday. And it was one of those things where I didn't realize it was coming. I had no idea. And she aimed this sort of wavelength of energy at my body. And you guys, it's very much like you'll feel this energy coming in, and it's like you kind of do this boom, and you just start crying, and just energy, I mean, tears, emotion starts flowing from the body. And it was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely shocking in its effectiveness. And what it taught me was that, these people are doing real work, and the people that get attracted to what we are doing are absolutely real, and the right ones will show up. And yeah, really honored to be a part of this process. So yeah, we're getting to see all kinds of changes and developments. And thank you. Thanks for your questions. Thank you, Liz, as well, for answering that. Bentonite clay, I would only buy the liquid version. You can go on Amazon and you can just enter liquid bentonite detox, and you'll get this brand called, I think it's Great Plains. I would only ever take the liquefied version. I would not take the dried one. But I only say that because I took the powdered version, and kind of like with zeolite, to me, this was just my experience. I took the powdered versions of them, and I just got majorly constipated. It's like it was just very difficult for me to move that stuff through me. When I took bentonite, it was the opposite. It was like suddenly something started flowing, and I was like, "Whoa!" I could tell there's actually, it's actually doing something. And so I think that's just because it was the right mixture for my body's pH value. I think other people will have a better experience with zeolite or diatomaceous earth, or whatever it is. For me, though, liquid bentonite's the one that I always tell people to take. But then again, everybody is an expert nowadays. I say this all the time. Everybody's an expert. So use what works. Here's what works. So let me know if you guys have any other questions. Otherwise, I'm going to answer Wendy's question about how this all started, which I will. Although a lot of people have heard it before, so for some people they're like, "Oh, you're going to talk about that old thing again." So I will give it another moment, and then we will tell the story if you'd like. But in the meantime, once again, you guys, you can check out our new training programs at rememberyourmission.com. And if you just want to come and hang out with myself and Ivan Teller on Saturday, August 21st. I almost said July. That's how fast time is going by. It's like I wanted to say July. Saturday, August 21st at 1 p.m. Pacific, we're going to be doing a really cool private event, private interview with Ivan. Yes, it will be on YouTube later. We'll just have to cut out all the unapproved topics. And so, okay, I don't see any other questions, so we will tell this story. For me, this experience was in, I believe it was December of 2017. It was about, I would say, 4 or 5 months maybe after I had launched officially, professionally into being a professional intuitive, or just whatever this strange thing is that I do now. And I was working at a shop in Los Angeles at the time. Some people will tune out because you're like, we already know. But I was working at a shop in Los Angeles at the time as a professional intuitive, and I went to do a meditation one day. It was about 1 to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. For those of you guys that want to get the internalized version, once again, you can tune into the left eye, and you'll get your own version of it internally, like a slideshow gets played in your body. But so I just kind of sat down in this little green chair in this shop there in Los Feliz in the greater Los Angeles area. And I think it was about late December of 2017. I just wanted to do a quick meditation. I closed my eyes, and instantly, literally as soon as I closed my eyes, I was in another place. I was standing in what looked like an outdoor area. I remember looking down at the ground, and the earth was very dark red and brown. And in front of me was a group of very tall, dark, black-skinned, strange-looking humanoid males, I think. And they were doing a very strange sort of shamanic dance. And they were walking toward me. I believe there was 3 of them, actually. There was 3 of them, and they were walking toward me. And as they walk up to my face, they blew some dust or some powder or some substance into my face. And immediately upon that happening, well, actually, no, before they blew stuff in my face, first they walked over to me and they put their hands in front of me. They made this wall. It was like they just built this wall up over the front and over the back with their hands. And they split off. And as they walked back, they blew this sort of energy into my face. And from that moment, I was taken into an indoor place. It was like my body was instantly transported into this indoor space. And what I observed in front of me to my right was somewhat of like an earthen table, or like this sort of earthy kind of like dwelling space. And there was like a bed or a table to my right. And lying on that table was one of those beings. It was like a child, very strange looking being. And it had a really big head. And there was a big old crack on his head that was glowing, like this glowing, oozing crack on this being's head. And I observed myself. I did not consciously do this. I watched myself walk over to this being, this child on this table, and I put my hand over its head, and I pulled it up like this. And what came out was this sort of glowing band of energy that was very much, it sounds so cheesy when I tell this story now, but it was like this giant glowing metallic slug that came out of this child's head. And I held my hand up, and it just sort of disappeared. And this was me observing myself doing it. Nowadays, when I tell the story, it sounds like, some sort of strange daydream, but it was one of the most real experiences that I have ever had in this physical lifetime. Upon going through and observing that action, I heard a sound. It was like this sort of whistling, toning, ringing sound that came out. It stuck with me. It just stayed in this weird way. It was like this just sort of ringing sound that happened. And Immediately after that event occurred, I was standing once again within that outdoor area. Um, and this is a part of the story that I don't always, get to. I don't always go this far. Sometimes I'll tell it in greater detail. Sometimes I'll leave this part out. But upon appearing back in that outdoor space, these men were doing this sort of dance, and they sort of like stomp their feet, and they do this thing, and they were like moving their hands back and forth, and like this sort of movement, and they created this orb of light within their hands, like this big white orb, and they were passing it around to each other in this sort of fluid motion. There was like boom, 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 like 1, 2, 3, 1. They were like passing it back and forth, and I was observing them doing it, just I guess standing there, in or out of the body, whatever it was. And for those of you some of you guys have had experiences like this, and you will, the sort of human mind begins to kick in. The human mind kicks in, and we start to ask, what is this? What's happening? What am I doing? What is this? And it did, I start asking in my mind, like, what's going on? And they turned to me and they threw or shot. It was like the white orb that they were passing around. They went right into my body. And what I was shown was that there was these little white orbs that had surrounded a DNA helix. In that moment, and even now, I can only assume that it was my DNA. And the changes that I experienced afterward, years later, are an absolute understanding, or at least my understanding, of what happens, when elements of the human DNA are activated. Because after that experience, which honestly ended in, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds, who knows how long it was? I have absolutely no idea. But it changed something within me. It literally changed me. After that period, I would say maybe it wasn't immediately after, a week or two later, I was in the same shop, in the same room, doing a clearing session on a person. And for the first time in my life, I suddenly felt like I needed to make a sound when I did a healing. And I started to hold my hand around people's body and go, and I started to create this tone. And really crazy stuff started happening, depending on where we would aim the tone, whatever anatomy or emotion or area of the body I would aim it at. In the beginning, you would see a reaction. Some people would glitch out. Some people would twitch. Most people would have an emotion. They would have this emotional reaction. It changed. It sort of formed over time. And what I found was that the quality of the tone, the level at which it was emitted, the vibration, the oscillation of it, the intention of it, they all had a very distinct effect. And, come to find out later on through my own journeying, is that is a direct extension of extraterrestrial non-physical technology, in that it works entirely non-physically through a vibration. And so I also discovered, after using it, in probably well over 2,000 sessions since, that you don't actually even have to make the sound, and that what essentially is sort of a fourth density training wheel process for humans that are learning how to send non-physical energy. And so it kind of became the primary modality that we use and also teach in the work that we're doing. And for me, it was the foundation of nearly everything that I do as a healer, as a professional intuitive. Well, I would say much more as, a multidimensional healer or energetic intuitive, really. It all came from that experience. Granted, there have been many teachers and many other things that I've picked up along the way, but when it comes to the phenomenon of scalar toning, that was directly given to me through an out-of-body experience with a very shamanic group of beings that I do not know their name. I had lots of other, well, not lots, I had a few other experiences with them, and I think they are one of the groups that are kind of actively guiding certain people on the earth plane right now. Quite honestly, it literally changed my life, which is always a fun one to talk about, because some people out there still get pretty triggered. They still get pretty weird when you talk about having extraterrestrial experiences and how, you will carry forward some of the information you were given in those experiences, and it actually turns out to create a tangible change. I would say if there was ever an experience that I had in this life, it was that I took that experience, the information and that process from that out-of-body experience, even if it was just a wild hallucination that Matthew had one afternoon, the results of it started changing my life and other people's. So, you know, something happened, right? Anyway, I know I'm not the only one. A lot of you guys have experienced similar things. Anyway, thank you for being here. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. In the meantime, continue to just stay cognizantly aware of your energy today. As some of us know, in recapping where we were at the beginning of our journey, we're in a massive energetic portal. It takes place during this Lion's Gate passage, this sort of Lion's Gate activation stage in August of every year, in which just a greatly enhanced amount of energy is available to those on the earth plane who are just aware of what's happening, aware of what we're capable of, and just making conscious choices to channel yourself into just the highest good. And so just really be aware of your thoughts, be aware of your emotions, and really also be aware of the new elements of your persona that are activated. One of the really cool things that I mentioned earlier that's happening right now is people are they're moving, they're transitioning. Some of us are physically moving. Some of us are transitioning into new chapters of service, into new elements of our mission, into new occupations, into new relationships. For some of us, you're getting all of those changes all at the same time. We are at the stage, especially today, in which you are auditioning a new persona, a new character, a different version of you that you're going to be taking with you into the coming months and years to come. And so just notice what comes in. Notice the new interests that are rising in your body, and also the old ones. Many of us are connecting with elements of ourself from another stage in our life, like childhood. Certain childhood interests are coming back, and that's a very positive thing for those of us that are tuning into it. But it can also be very intense, and so it's very important just to, as many of us say, stay in the highest vibration. Just be aware of your emotions, be aware of your thoughts. You're going to find that really what you focus on today, and probably for about the next 10 days or so, you are going to see the events of what we are talking about today, the results of the energy, the thought forms, the desires, and the things you are trying to manifest today. In this period of 2021, you're going to be seeing these take place in approximately 6 months. The seed gets planted, and then it takes time within the collective consciousness to begin to form. The way that you will continue to form the timelines that you are creating today is by strengthening the physical body, by healing the emotional body, by coming into just greater contact and awareness of the inner child and embracing the inner child within the self. And honestly, just by staying connected with truth, connected with joy, connected with what makes you feel good, which is hard to do for us right now because there's a lot of kind of controversial and polarizing energy that also needs our focus. Yes, it does. I'm not saying ignore the negative, but I'm saying just be sure to really spend a equally proportionate amount of time pouring a lot of energy into stuff that you just love for childish reasons. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Needs Be. You probably asked a couple questions in there. I think I saw your name go by. Hopefully we answered it. Let me know if you have any more now that I'm seeing the comments. And hopefully we can answer them for you. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Let me know if you guys have any other questions before we roll out of here. Good to see everybody. Once again, as I almost dropped my own Rife transmitter, once again, you guys can join us August 21st, Saturday, August 21st, in our Patreon group with Ivan Teller. My prayer is he's going to be doing some channeling from the Multidimensional Collective, and also answering some questions. I'll be answering some questions as well and interviewing Ivan about his experience as a professional in this realm. And so that's part of our monthly training program series. We're in a high activity stage of the summer, so for those of you in the Patreon group, the next few events are going to be us kind of interviewing people and talking about and letting other people go through their processes as we're getting ready to move as well. And so we're starting to bring other energies into our mix and just show you guys how other people are operating, what everyone's capable of. But yeah, thanks for being here, everybody. Samantha says, I felt an energy rush at my forehead during meditation, and then I physically felt it bounce off of my pineal gland, and it began to ring like someone striking a bell. It didn't seem real. It sounds like you had a legitimate encounter of non-physical energy interacting with your energetic anatomy, and you had the experience of feeling that vibration. Um, I believe that that's absolutely real. I think that's one of the aspects of your experience here. And the more you can lean into it, the more that you can feel into it, the more that you can describe it, the more you think about it, the more that you can foster and sort of hang on to the feeling that you had during that experience, the more it's going to show up in your life. Make it into something joyful, a joyful piece of your new awareness, and it will continue to show up. Um, so I hope that helps. Catherine Dworkin says, any experience with interdimensionals feeding off of our energy, Matthew? Yeah, tons of them. Not necessarily always in a catastrophic sense. I think it depends on the individual. I think it depends on kind of the individual's path and the most prevalent emotional condition within the body. I think on a collective level right now, much of our energy is in constant flux, constantly being sapped, constantly being used through some form of, control structures. I myself and a lot of the people that we work with have sort of diverted our focus away from the severity of what we would call the warfare happening within the astral realms, and much more toward the healing and the correction of it. And so, while yes, there are many, many forces kind of feeding off our energy, yeah, it's kind of on an individual basis through which we identify the specifics and such. And so I hope that makes sense. Might just make it more confusing. But thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. I had a weird experience. She says, I wonder if anyone else has had. A few years back, I was sleeping and I was abruptly pulled out of my bed onto the floor. I thought to myself, my only choice is to surrender. Then I was suddenly in a sterile, spaceship-like environment. There was a creepy janitor who passed by, and I was looking at either a screen or a huge window at another planet. The sense was that's where I was going next. I remember saying to the planet as a whole, hi, I'm Tiff, I see you. Oh, that's awesome. Weirdest part was being forcefully and lucidly pulled out of my bed and sucked up through the ceiling. Thank you for telling us that story. Between, I would say, about in the year 2016, I had a couple things like that. Not so detailed in the sense that I was on the ship, but I was aware of me coming back through the ceiling, coming back through the portal, physically going into my body. It was just like you described, Tiffany. I felt my whole body go back through the ceiling into my physical body, which is a hard thing to describe. It happened twice. And I think it happened a third time, but I didn't notice it until after it happened. And so, but yeah, to me, it sounds like you had a real out-of-body experience. It sounds like you were taken into an astral space that is both astral and physical. It's what we would call a fourth dimensional container, or maybe a pocket dimension, or possibly you were actually physically on that ship and you actually had that experience. There are many people that have had that. They will know the intricacies all the way down to, the janitor and the smell and the look of the place and what was on the screen, and all those strange little elements of that experience will stay with you to, honestly, in many cases, help you remember that that was a real experience that you had out of the body. And so, maybe you were viewing or, going through something that had already happened. Maybe you were going through it in that moment. Maybe you were taken to another planet and, placed onto another timeline, and now you're coming to the stage many years later, or several years, or however long later, in which you're going, is that how I got here? Maybe. Who knows? Or maybe I'm confusing you, Tiffany. Who knows? But thank you for that story. It feels like a real experience. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, you guys. And the pineal energy bouncing off your head, that is wild. That is absolutely real. You are feeling a thing. It's totally real. Especially for you guys that are starting to tune into weird sensations like that. Lean into it. See if there's an emotion behind it. See if there's a thought form behind it. See if there's a message behind it. It doesn't mean there will be. It doesn't mean that underneath every rock that we discover in our energetic field that there's going to be, some magic understanding or an epiphany. But the more we investigate, the more we feel into it, the more we, examine all sides of this experience, especially the non-physical aspects of it, we come into just completely and utterly new chapters of experience in this life. And I never thought I would say it, but I am a literal living example of that. a literal living example in that, you know, maybe I was crazy enough. I think I was crazy enough, just crazy enough to take those experiences so literally that I did what they told me to do. And they never told me to do anything. They gave me a choice. But the choice was to leave behind a previous life cycle, a previous life, a previous career, a previous relationship, a previous version of me, and to begin something new. And so, you know, even if that was, you know, the greatest hallucination that we all had, even if, you know, Tiffany, even if that was just a wild dream, even if I was just having some dissociative hallucination in my backyard between 2015 and 2017 every single day, you know, even if that was a hallucination, amazing things happened as a result. And so, yeah, honor that stuff, investigate it. It will bring you into a whole new chapter of your journey here. And so, in the meantime, I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out. Please check out our new training programs at rememberyourmission.com. We have both a highly structured group experience for 20 individuals on the earth plane, and we also have an individual experience now available for other people that takes place over a longer period of time. Wherever you are within this journey, it is absolutely possible to awaken and enhance the new version of you. And I'm just one of many people doing this work. There are many others showing up on the earth plane. And so I'm really honored that everyone stayed here and hung out with us today. If you do anything next in this world here today, just stay aware of your emotions, stay aware of your thought forms. Understand that this is the greatest time to be alive on planet Earth, and we have an absolute choice where we place our energy. And so, in the meantime, I'm going to mention one last thing before we go. It might be one of the most important things we mention here today. And that is a very, very special event that is happening August 26th through 30th in Helen, Georgia. And that is called Camp Disclosure. So you guys can check out campdisclosure.com. I'm going to put the link in there. But this is one of the few times, if you're able to get out to Georgia in the next few weeks, you can join us at this event. Oh, let me find my screen. There it is. I'm going to put it in the chat. You can join us at Camp Disclosure in person or via live stream. And so myself and many other people are going to be there. Eric Rains, who was with us in the Patreon group a couple weeks ago. Barry Littleton, Geraldine Orozco, another very, very interesting experiencer. A number of other people. I always feel bad because I forget their names. Jason Alexis will be there as well. And just a number of really, truly, truly amazing beings from our community. And so please do check out campdisclosure.com, you guys. We are going to be doing a live stream there. And for those of you guys that can make it in person, I'm going to be doing a live presentation, a group healing, and also a bit of a Qigong, a little bit of a workshop process for everyone. So please do check out campdisclosure.com. You guys can pick up a live stream ticket wherever you are in the world and just hang out with us over social media that weekend. And if you're in the Helen, Georgia area, please consider coming down and hanging out. I don't think there's anything quite like it. It's going to be very, very small, incredibly small, incredibly intimate setting, and just a place for us strange beings to connect. We're also going to be doing some recruiting for our next wave of our training program. So if you're in that area and you want to meet me and find out what we're about, as well as Enora, please come and find us at Camp Disclosure, August 26th through 30th in Helen, Georgia, or join us on the live stream. And so, yeah, that's at campdisclosure.com. Likewise, you can find me. Thank you, Wild Ginger. You squeaked it in there right before we left. You can find me at rememberyourmission.com. You can book private sessions, which are a little hard to get right now. They're nearly booked up until October. There's a few spots, and I think a couple spots in August, I think still. Might be a couple days left in August. But we are switching over also to, you know, much more of a training format. While we do still have private sessions available, it's just it's a thing that seems to be, for better or worse, in high demand. So there's a little bit of a backlog right now. But please check us out at rememberyourmission.com, and if you're interested in joining our training programs, you can sign up there or request an interview for our official group training program starting on October 1st. In the meantime, you guys, I love you guys. Stay safe out there. Be very aware of your thoughts and your desires. You're creating a new persona here today. And I pray that we all make it, honestly, the most amazing version of us yet. So we'll see you guys in the future, especially on Saturday, August 21st with Ivan Teller In the meantime, stay out of trouble. I love you.